Again, thanks for joining this morning. So I'm with Mrs. Shannan Hill, who is our new Director of Development here at Atlanta Classical. We've got some sort of I think, an exciting story to tell about the work that we have to do in fundraising this school year. We're excited to share about the aims and the intentions of our general fund. Before I turn things over to her, I want to share just a little bit about sort of my experience at Atlanta Classical, especially with those activities that extend beyond the school day. And sort of as we tell our story about why it is that we run an annual campaign at Atlanta Classical, the whole thing turns around the work that happens when the school day ends, right? So everything in the realm of fine arts, athletics, these are the things that are funded by the generosity of our parents. In my second year at Atlanta Classical, I had the pleasure of coaching a middle school basketball team with Mrs. Mara Perkins, whose daughter Reese attends ACA. Mara was like an elite level basketball player at Vanderbilt. I think she was all SEC when she was there. And I was one of four coaches on the team. We looked like the Lady Volunteers on the bench, right? We ran four coaches deep for every game. We practiced very seriously. We had optional weekend practices. And I remember being just sort of overwhelmed by the intensity and the commitment of Miss Perkins. I mean, she loved these girls. She loved the sport of basketball, and she had a real vision for what we were doing. And what I realized over time was that her vision of excellence in middle school basketball, even though we lost every single game that year, we did have a few really close calls, but we lost every game. But her vision of excellence on this middle school basketball team was perfectly aligned with what we were trying to accomplish in the classroom. And in a way, they were entirely complementary. I think it could be a mistake sometimes at schools to kind of constantly kind of draw a line of distinction between academics and athletics, right? The kind of standard statement is, athletics always come first. And of course, that's basically true, except that suggests a tension between what happens at school and what happens after school. And I think when we at Atlanta Classical are at our very best, everything that happens after the school day, everything, again, that's sort of funded by our families, is integral to the project of forming knowledgeable and virtuous citizens. I mean, I watched this group of 12 and 13-year-old girls really transform under Mara's instruction and her direction, and came to realize this is such an important part of the project of running a school. Every spring, when our girls varsity soccer team sort of makes a deep run into the playoffs, the entire culture of our school transforms for like 2 to 3 weeks. There's just a new excitement and a new energy. And this often translates to activity and commitment in the classroom as well. And this is only to speak of athletics, right? What's happening in fine arts, what happens in choir with Mr. Franklin is probably even an easier argument for sort of describing why it's so necessary to the life of Atlanta Classical. I shared this with a few parents a couple of weeks ago, but since ACA's founding, I think we've gone from having about 8 athletics teams now to about 26. We had 7 student clubs when we were founded, and now we have 35. Our first ever choir at Atlanta Classical had 5 young women in it, and now our select choir has 32 students, and half of those students are boys, and they meet at like 7:15 a.m. in the morning to participate because Mr. Franklin is that inspiring. So I just wanted to offer that framing as we talk about our annual fund today, and everything that, the money that our families or that foundations give to us, what it goes to. If we can go to the next slide here, I want to give you all just a brief view of what kinds of expenses we're covering, right? So the money that we receive through taxpayer dollars through Atlanta Public Schools exists to cover kind of bell-to-bell expenses, particularly related to classroom instruction. But everything that happens outside of the school day, whether it's related to athletics or field trips or transportation, tutoring, these are expenses that we have to cover internally, either through finding a grant that might apply or through the generosity of our families. And helpful just to give you all a quick rundown of some of the headline expenses that something like our annual campaign would go toward funding. So you see athletics here, which cost the school about $326,000 each year. The expenses of each team is in excess of $17,000, and what we collect in contributions through fees is just shy of $5,000. So that massive gap then is something that we make up for by running this annual campaign. Field trips, kind of again beyond the fees that parents pay to participate, cost us over $40,000, and you can go down the line here and see everything from the tutoring that we offer after school to transportation. And this is transportation beyond athletics, or our house system. All of these are very real expenses that we think are facilitating, making possible like critical initiatives as we are in pursuit of our mission together. And this is the entire reason for an annual campaign, right? It's not just to kind of stockpile money, but instead it's to make the experience of Atlanta Classical as full and as robust as possible, knowing that many of our students can express themselves most fully outside of the classroom at times. I mean, I've seen kids that perhaps are quiet and inward when they're engaging in a discussion in a literature class, but you put them on a stage, performing in a middle school musical, and they become a different kind of young person. And when a teacher sees that, he or she then becomes aware of the potential of that child. So all I want to emphasize here before turning things over to Shannan is the complementary nature of what happens during the school day and what happens after it, and this really being our motivation for raising money each year. I do want to say just a couple things about Shannan Hill, who has been with us for a long time and is this year running our development office. Shannan and I laughed a little bit yesterday about calling it a development office because it's essentially just her, but we're going to be as official as possible. But Shannan, of course, has been at the school for a long time. Her family is here. Her children are here, and has been contributing in critical ways for years. She ran our 504 RTI services in the lower school until this year, when she actually returned to the thing that she has considerable background doing. Shannan, ran a fundraising consulting business in New York City, and actually supported schools specifically in Harlem and in the Bronx. She has worked in development offices here in Atlanta and has supported organizations like Children's Healthcare, the Children's Museum, and the Westminster Schools, and also ran a really successful campaign for the Nature Conservancy in Georgia that was in excess of $25 million. So someone who has real experience and expertise, and we're incredibly lucky to have her. So at this point, I'm just going to turn things over to her to describe to you all our aims for this school year.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Andrew. I really appreciate the chance to be here to visit with all of you. I wish we were all sitting together in a room having coffee, but I guess this is the next best thing. And before I jump into my presentation, I do just want to echo a few things that Mr. Andrew has mentioned. A lot of you on this call are my friends. You are people I've worked with and worked alongside. And for those of you that I don't know who may be new to our school, as Mr. Andrew mentioned, I have been at ACA for almost 5 years. My children and I joined ACA together in February of 2019 when I came to work here. My daughter was in first grade. My son was in second grade. They are now in 6th and 7th grade. And this school has completely changed the trajectory of our lives. I have seen up close and personal, having worked in our student services group, the incredible love and care that our teachers pour into our students every day. So personally, we are incredibly invested as parents. And of course, working here, I tell people often, we had ACA on a very high pedestal. And sometimes when you work in a place, you really get to see the heart and soul of a place. And I can say today I have ACA on an even higher pedestal. So it is an incredible privilege to work with all of you, to work with our leadership team, and to have an opportunity to focus on the current goals of ACA, but also looking toward the future. This is such an exciting time for our school as we celebrate the 10th year anniversary. So I really am very grateful to be here and to have an opportunity to focus on and and play a small role in helping our school grow and be the best it can be. So thanks so much for the opportunity to visit. And I'm just going to go to our next slide. So some of you have seen some of this information before. We hope we'll add a little more color and answer any questions you have. I do want to encourage you to please reach out to me if after today's presentation you have questions or want to talk any further about anything that we've mentioned today. We are going to focus today on our annual fundraising goals and why we actually need them. So as you all know, ACA does receive public funding from the state of Georgia and the Atlanta Public Schools. However, it is not enough to offer the full ACA experience that all of us want for our students. The many activities that Mr. Andrew alluded to in the beginning of this call that truly breathe life into our students and teachers, opportunities for our students to thrive outside of the classroom, opportunities for our teachers to spend time with our students outside of the classroom. I'm so incredibly impressed with what is happening in the classroom. We've all chosen ACA primarily probably for that reason. The curriculum here is incredibly unique in the landscape of our country, but the experience that we're able to offer our students comes not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom, and really does lift up, inspire, and breathe life into our students and teachers. And so the donations that you make to ACA, that our community makes to ACA, are in fact a critical bridge between the public funding we receive and the total cost of coming alongside our students and teachers to offer this experience. On a budget, kind of in a tactical sense, just a note that we actually house donations and participation fees, so activity fees that our students and families pay to participate. Those are housed in what we call our general fund. So this slide gives you a little snapshot into the income into our general fund. So as I just mentioned, participation fees, activity fees, people are charges that we get at community events, et cetera. But the bulk of the income that we depend on, so over 57%, comes through donations and fundraising. This next slide is sort of on the flip side of the one I just shared, but this is how we use donations and fees that come into our general fund. So again, athletics, fine arts, student activities, selected field trips, community events, et cetera, are listed here. So investing in our ACA experience through annual campaigns. We have 3 primary initiatives that we depend on to help bridge that gap that I mentioned before. The Cavalier Fund, which I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about in a minute, is our most important giving priority for a number of reasons. But it is the opportunity that we all have to invest in ACA each year. It's a way to show gratitude for the school that is giving our children so much. And it is really what we depend on the most to fill that almost over 57% that you saw in the previous slide. The 2 other major initiatives that we depend on are our Business Partners Initiative, which offers local businesses the opportunity to support our school and receive some marketing benefits. And the Spring Social, which happens each year and is hosted by our PTCA, is another opportunity to support our school. We do have some additional funding sources. We are very grateful to some local foundations who support our school through grants for specific purposes, the loyalty program like Publix Partners, and our students plan various fundraisers throughout the year that I'm sure you have heard about through the Key Club or other club trips off campus. So those are some other opportunities as well. So a little bit more about our annual campaigns. And when I mention annual campaigns, I'm referring to the three major initiatives I mentioned a minute ago: the Cavalier Fund, the Business Partners Initiative, and the Spring Social. Again, the funding and the donations that are brought in through those initiatives help bridge the gap between what we receive in public funding and the total cost of the ACA experience. But we spend those funds on specific things. Teacher appreciation. So as I think most of you know, we've done quite a bit of surveying of our community over the last couple of years to try to glean various bits of information from all of you. Consistently, over and above, faculty and staff rate at the top of the list for those of us who appreciate our school. Our teachers are unprecedented in their character and their love of our students, and their expert level teaching. So I know we all agree that we want to do everything we can to show them our appreciation, and donations to the Cavalier Fund and these other initiatives go directly toward helping us show them our appreciation. Community engagement means all the events we do throughout the year that bring our community together. If you happen to be at supper on the South Lawn, you know what these events do for our community. They're beautiful ways to bring us together outside of the walls of our school, to get to know each other, to support our students, our teachers, and our families. Resources for athletic programs is very important. The offerings that we're able to offer our students to participate has grown enormously over the last 10 years. And they are opportunities for students to come to life in ways that they can't inside the classroom. And so our athletic programs are an incredible part of what we do here at ACA. Selected field trips, opportunities for our students to experience our city and our state, and even beyond our state. Our high schoolers are going to Washington, D.C. next week. And so part of your donations help offset the cost of some of our selected field trips. Enhancements to the fine arts program. This is very real. I hope you all read the Chronicle this week that highlighted some of our fine arts programs that are new this year. Our choir, as Mr. Andrew mentioned, has grown incredibly over the last several years. We believe so wholeheartedly in fine arts here at our school. It's a part of all of our students' day-to-day, but it's also an incredible part of what we can offer our students after the school day as well. And then for students who qualify for financial aid, there are ways that we come alongside them, and donations to our annual campaigns help us do that as well. So what are our goals for the 23-24 school year? I've listed here the goals we have for the three major initiatives that I've talked about. So we are working to raise $350,000 for the Cavalier Fund, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Our goal for the Business Partner Initiative for this year is $70,000. And the goal for our 10th anniversary Parents Social this spring is $30,000. So our total annual fundraising goal is $450,000 for the current fiscal year. I do want to give a huge shout out to our PTCA team. We have an incredible group of parents that I have had so much fun working with, who are so delightful, full of joy and generosity for our school. And a group of them worked behind the scenes all summer long to launch and execute our Business Partner Initiative, and have actually exceeded our goal for that initiative for this year. And the group of PTCA members who will host our Parents Social this spring, we're so thrilled to be able to come together as an entire school community to celebrate our 10th anniversary, which will be the focus of that event this spring. So our PTCA does incredible work behind the scenes and on the front lines to support these fundraising initiatives. And I just want to thank them and appreciate their efforts. So the Cavalier Fund, as I mentioned, is our most important giving priority. Financially, it has the largest goal. We also are working to achieve 100% participation this year from parents, as well as faculty and staff, in honor of our 10th year anniversary. So our 23-24 Cavalier Fund, we're hoping to celebrate 10 years with 100% participation. This is the opportunity for all of our key stakeholders to come together to show gratitude for our school. We ask our parents to consider supporting the Cavalier Fund at a level that makes sense for you and your family. We do appreciate the support we get from grandparents, from faculty and staff, and the larger community. We actually kicked off our faculty and staff campaign yesterday, and almost half of our faculty and staff had given by the end of the day. So your teachers and the staff that works here at ACA is incredibly supportive of our school and are kind of leading by example this year, and we're really grateful for that. We're so grateful to all of the parents who also have already given this year. We are trying this year to have a bit of a finite giving period. So a time in which we are offering the opportunity to give to the Cavalier Fund. That time is now. So we kicked off the Cavalier Fund last week with an email last Tuesday. You're going to be hearing a lot about the Cavalier Fund over the next couple of weeks. And then we offer the opportunity to give throughout the year. But this will be sort of the intense period in which we're talking a lot about the Cavalier Fund. And so we hope that if you have questions, if you do want to give to the Cavalier Fund, that you'll consider doing it this month, because this is sort of our rallying cry, so to speak. Again, as I mentioned, our financial goal is $350,000. And I do want to talk a little bit about participation, because like many of you, you may wonder why participation matters. I've been a parent as well. I've worked for a number of different organizations, but in schools especially. As we were talking to the larger community this summer about some of our long-term goals here at ACA, one of the first questions that one of the major Atlanta foundations asked us was, what percentage of your parents give to your annual fund? And so it can often be the difference between support and not from a larger community donor. And as we look toward long-term goals for our school, in particular, this really does matter. So we do hope that you will consider that as you're considering what you can do to support our school this year, because it does matter. So how can you give to the Cavalier Fund? There are many ways to give. Obviously, you can write a check to our school and drop it off in the school front office or mail it to our school. You can give online at our website. There is a donate button on the homepage. I do want to mention matching gifts. So if you work for a company, you can sometimes double or even triple your gift to our school. So if you're not aware if your company offers a matching gift, please be sure you look into that. And if you need help facilitating that or navigating that process, please feel free to reach out anytime. We do accept stock transfers. So if you do want information about making a stock gift, please reach out to me. I'm happy to provide the information. And as I mentioned previously, we've identified sort of a finite giving period for the Cavalier Fund. However, you may be a family that wants to make a gift to the Cavalier Fund, but you don't want to do it till this spring, until Christmas, until later in the school year. We do consider the fiscal year as our giving periods. So all gifts made between July 1 of 23 and June 30 of 24 count toward our current year's goals. So again, if you want to make a gift later in the spring, but you want your student's class to get participation credit now, or you just want our school to know what your plans are, please let me know. An email completely suffices for that. A phone call, however you'd like to communicate that would be great. I do want to encourage you to consider joining our 2014 Circle. This is in honor of our founding year, and on our 10th anniversary, it's especially impactful to honor the founding of our school with a gift of this size. But if this is something that's in the bandwidth of your family, please consider joining our 2014 Circle. All families who give 2014 or more are recognized in our honor roll of donors and invited to our annual 2014 Circle event. And so that is a great way to show your leadership and support of our school. So I just want to close by again thanking you. Thank you for the opportunity to support our school. It really is a complete joy to be at our school every day, to see the work of our teachers. And I hope that you all, as you look at the opportunities to give in our community, the opportunity to make an impact here at ACA is powerful. We are a small school. We have become a flagship for classical education in our country in a very short period of time. We are offering opportunities to our students that are hard to find in the landscape of our city as well as in our country. And no matter what your family can do to support our school, every bit actually makes an enormous impact and allows us to grow what we're doing and to do what we're doing with excellence. So we really appreciate your support. We are unable to do what we do without it. And if you have any questions or want to talk about giving, if you have questions about the future goals of our school, I do want to encourage you to reach out anytime. My cell phone is my primary phone. My number's listed here. My email is here as well as on the website. So I just encourage you to reach out. I'm excited to be in this role and very much appreciate the opportunity to get to know all of you and help grow our school together. So thank you, Mr. Andrew, for the chance to join the community call today. And I think that concludes my presentation.
Wonderful. Thanks, Shannon. And again, thanks to all of you for joining. We'll see you in a week. I hope you enjoy fall break. Thanks, everybody.